Kevin Hauser here with the Couple Creek Apple Nursery. Because apples do not reproduce true to seed, if you want another tree that makes apples exactly like a good variety, it must be cloned by grafting. By grafting a cutting from the good tree onto another tree's roots, you could think of it as part of the same tree, only growing in a different place. The two parts of the grafted tree will always keep their separate identities and appearance, but will knit together in a bond so strong it can withstand high winds and heavy fruit loads. We're going to give you a short introduction to grafting, showing the tools and materials, and then show you a cleft graft, which is commonly used for joining a scion, which is a cutting from the desired variety, to the rootstock, which are the roots of the tree we want to use. In this type of grafting, both the rootstock and the scion are dormant, are not actively growing. The scion you want to use is from this year's growth on the tree. It will be on the tips of the branches and be separated from last year's growth by what looks like a knuckle on a finger. It will not have any branches or spurs coming off of it and will be young and tender. By the way, if your tools or materials are not exactly like what you see here, don't worry about it. Grafting has been done since the Egyptians built the pyramids, and just about every knife and tying material you can think of has been successfully used at one time or another. Apples graft very easily, and your chance of success is very high. You can even practice on ornamentals or other plants in the forest just to make sure that you're confident with it when it comes time to doing your actual apples. So let's take a look at what we'll be using. This is a selection of knives I've used for grafting, and they've all worked very well. The first three were made especially for grafting. This one has a folding blade and a bark lifter for doing bud grafts. You make the T-shaped cut with the blade, and then you use this little protrusion on the end for lifting the bark up. This is a budding knife. It's used the same way. This is just a kitchen knife, a regular one you use for preparing food. It's very sharp, and it has also worked well for us. But what I've ended up using the most is this, is a carpenter's utility knife. It has a retractable blade that goes in and out. The blades are replaceable. They're very sharp and they're very stiff and very thin, and it's worked well for me for doing all kinds of grafts. This is about the only knife I use now. This one is much more inexpensive than all these other knives were also. These are different tapes that I've used for grafting. Grafting has been done for thousands of years, and if you could think of it, it's been used for tying up grafts from rawhide to string. This is painter's tape, painter's masking tape. This is cut up grocery sacks, from like wrapping or something like that. I've used it for tying grafts. This is clear plastic tape. It's very tough, very strong. It also comes in a wider version like this. This is surveyor's marking tape, just a colored tape. There's no adhesive on it. I've used regular cellophane tape. The newer things that are coming out is called parafilm. This is a wax tape. It stretches and becomes very thin, and what's special about it is that it seals moisture inside the graft, and also the bud can bud right through it. It will not choke or girdle the tree, and so you could tape up all the way up the top of the scion and seal the moisture into it. It comes in three different versions. This one's a wider one. This one's a narrower one. This is the one that was originally came out for the laboratory industry. It came back with a paper film that's very wide and also very stretchy like this, and could seal over something very tight and sealing the moisture into it. While grafting, you're using a very sharp knife, and you need some way to protect your hands when you're working on your material. This is a grafting vise I made. It's a simple piece of wood, has a hinge on the top with a spring to help lift the upper jaw. The jaws are padded with just leather with cotton inside of it, and it has a wire going down to a foot pedal to help me close it once I put the stock into it. It holds the stock securely where I split the top of it for the cleft graft. If you don't have one of these, all is not lost. For years they just used a piece of simple wood with a hole in it, so you could hold on to the material and split the top of it without endangering your hand. We're going to be doing a cleft graft to join the rootstock with the scion of the variety that we want the tree to be. In order to do this, I find a smooth part on the root of the rootstock, and I split it right down the middle. Then I cut the scion back to a bud. Find a smooth spot on the bark, and I sharpen it to a point, making long, smooth cuts that are very straight on the sides. The bark side is wider than the inside here because just on the inside of this bark is called the cadmium layer. This cadmium layer is what I want to touch between the scion and the rootstock. I open the rootstock a little bit with my thumb, slide these in there like that. And as you can see, it's not lined up in the center of the rootstock, it's lined up on the very outside, tipping it out ever so slightly, so I'm sure that the two cadmium layers are touching somewhere within this graft. Then I take my plastic tape and I wrap the graft, pulling it pretty tight. And they should fit pretty tight even before you start wrapping it. And I'll use the tape to go over the end of the graft to seal the end of the rootstock so it doesn't dry out. And then I'll tie off the end of the tape and pull off the extra like that. All you really need for this to grow is one bud. But since I have plenty of scion wood to work with, I'm going to leave 2 on there. 1, 2. And cut it just above the second bud. If you don't have a whole lot of scion wood, you'll cut it back to 1 bud. Notice I did the cutting after I made the graft because I have more things to hold on to here than I would with a short little scion like that. Then to keep the scion from drying out, I'm taking my parafilm tape and wrapping it, stretching as I go so it leaves a very thin layer. This tape is a little old and so it's breaking on me. Going all the way over the top and sealing it like that. These buds will blossom right through the parafilm tape. However, in a few weeks the rootstock will start to swell and it cannot swell past the plastic tape, so I will have to come in later and cut the plastic tape after the tree starts to grow. One of the most important things to do is to take a label and label your tree so you know what type of tree it is. Either putting the label on the tree or on a stick right next to the tree. Because believe me, once you've grafted these, they all look the same. And if you don't label them, you'll have to wait until you start fruit until you can figure out what type of tree that is. A cleft graft can also be used on larger rootstock, up to 3 or 4 centimeters. You can put a scion on each side of the cleft, and then after they start growing, cut off the smaller one. This is commonly done to change the variety of a tree that is 2 or 3 years old. Be sure to look at the other types of grafting we have on our YouTube channel under the name Cleft Creek. And so until then, I'm Kevin Hauser with the Cleft Creek Apple Nursery.